My brother held my 10-year-old daughter in his freezing garage for 2 hours because she stopped his son from mocking a kid with a stutter. Now he's begging me to testify for him in court. Last Saturday started like any other family barbecue at my brother's place. But by the end of the night, everything had fallen apart in a way I still can't wrap my head around. My wife and I had dropped off our daughter, Nora, since we had errands to run, and my brother said he'd watch her along with his son and a few neighborhood kids. We trusted him. That was our first mistake. About 2 hours later, my phone started blowing up. It was my wife, and she was hysterical. She kept saying that something had happened to Nora, and that the neighbors had called her because they heard screaming. I didn't even grab my jacket before running to my car. On the drive over, my wife managed to tell me that my brother had locked Nora in the garage and refused to let her out. I asked her to repeat herself because none of it made sense. Why would a grown man do that to his own niece? My hands were shaking so badly that I almost ran a red light. When I pulled up, there were two neighbors standing in my brother's driveway arguing with him. One of them was holding Nora, who was shivering uncontrollably and had tears streaming down her face. It was barely 40 degrees outside and she wasn't wearing her jacket. My brother saw me and immediately started defending himself. He said Nora had been disrespectful and needed to learn a lesson. I ignored him and ran to my daughter. Her lips had a bluish tint and she couldn't stop trembling. I wrapped her in my coat and took her straight to urgent care. The doctor said she was showing early signs of hypothermia and that another hour could have been dangerous. I felt sick to my stomach. While they warmed her up, I asked her what had happened. She told me that my brother's son, Colton, had been making fun of a boy named Oliver who had just moved into the neighborhood. Oliver has a stutter, and Colton kept imitating him and calling him broken. The other kids were laughing, but Nora told Colton to stop because it wasn't funny, and Oliver looked like he was about to cry. Colton got angry and shoved her. When she shoved him back, he ran inside crying to my brother, but instead of asking what happened, my brother grabbed Nora by the arm, dragged her to the garage, and pushed her inside. He told her she could come out when she learned to keep her mouth shut. Nora said she banged on the door and screamed, but he turned up the TV. The garage had no heating, and her jacket was still inside the house. She was in there for over 2 hours before the neighbors heard her crying and came to investigate. I left the urgent care and drove straight back to my brother's house. My parents were already there because the neighbors had called them too. My brother was sitting on the couch like nothing had happened, while Colton played video games in the corner. I asked him how he could lock a little girl in a freezing garage without even hearing her side. He said she needed discipline because she was turning his son into a target. I told him his son was bullying a disabled kid, and Nora did the right thing. He laughed and said I was raising her to be soft. That's when my father stood up and told him he was done. He said this wasn't the first time my brother had taken things too far, and it would be the last time any of us enabled it. My mother was already on the phone with Oliver's parents, apologizing on behalf of our family. When she told them what Colton had been doing, they were furious. Turns out, Oliver had come home crying multiple times that week, but wouldn't say why. The next morning, everything unraveled. Oliver's parents filed a report against my brother for child endangerment, since their son had witnessed the whole thing and was traumatized. The neighbors gave statements confirming they found Nora locked in the garage, showing signs of hypothermia. My parents told my brother they were removing him from the family trust and selling the vacation home he was supposed to inherit. They also told every aunt, uncle, and cousin what he did. By Sunday night, he was blocked on every family group chat. Then, his ex-wife found out. She had been fighting for full custody of Colton for years, and this was exactly the ammunition she needed. She filed an emergency motion and called my brother unfit. 2 days ago, he showed up at my door crying. He said the investigation was destroying his life and asked me to testify that Nora had exaggerated. He said he could lose Colton permanently if I didn't help him. I told him that Nora didn't exaggerate anything, and that he did this to himself.